most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness. Mayhem. It is bedlam.
This is the Boxing Talk and Old Time Boxing Show on Ustream, presented by GAR 1680. Here is your host, Paco Rivera.
Good evening and welcome to another broadcast of the GAR 1680 North Carolina Boxing Talk Radio Show. I am Paco Rivera. It is Monday, September 23rd, 2013. It is a little past 8 p.m. I am here every Monday about 8 talking about what's going on in boxing here in North Carolina. I've got a lot of things to talk about tonight. First, I'd like to apologize for skipping this radio show the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, the NFL had 2 Monday night football games back to back, and there's no way I'm going to compete with Monday night football. And last week, I spent most of the weekend doing a lot of audio, video, and editing work with the Carolinas Amateur Boxing Invitational that took place in Charlotte. A lot of exciting and action-packed amateur boxing that afternoon, and all of it can now be seen on our YouTube channel. Besides, last weekend, it seemed every boxing fan had just one thing on their minds, the Floyd Mayweather-Canelo Alvarez fight, and discussions about that dragged on for days. I wonder how many people even knew that we had one fighter from North Carolina on one of the undercards of the Floyd Mayweather fight in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, he lost. James Shotgun Winchester of Reidsville, North Carolina, lost a 6-round unanimous decision to Luis Arias of Wisconsin. Shotgun lost every round. All 3 judges had it 60-54. The good part is that fight was not one of the bouts that got televised on the pay-per-view event. This show is brought to you in part by Mid-South Boxing Academy, See continuous updates about the boxing scene in North Carolina on our blog at gar1680.blogspot.com, and follow me on Twitter at gar1680. Okay, as I was saying, I have a lot of stuff to tell you about. Aside from the Amateur Boxing Invitational in Charlotte, we had a charity boxing event the day before involving the police department, fire department, sheriff's office, and North Carolina Highway Patrol, setting up teams and strapping on the boxing gloves to compete against each other. I will also have an update on North Carolina's undefeated heavyweight Josh Tufte, who is still at Camp Klitschko in Austria, and you will actually hear from Tufte himself here on this show tonight. I'm going to play something back for you on how training and sparring with the world champion is going. I have results from boxing in Greensboro this past Saturday and Winston-Salem. I have some of the results from this past Saturday. I'll talk about a big win for Fayetteville fighter Lamar Russ, who remains undefeated. Also, I will do a preview on the fight coming up between Noel Echevarria and our undefeated boxer from Winston-Salem, and tell you about the guy he's fighting, his opponent, Emmanuel Gonzalez, another undefeated boxer from the Bronx in New York City. One of our state's top women boxers, Carlette Ewell, will be in a big fight next month, and I have some info on that and a lot more about the boxing scene here in North Carolina. The phone lines are open if anyone wants to call in during the show. The number is 605-215-1680. If you do call in, please refrain from profanities when you speak. Also, don't stand too close to the speakers that you are hearing this show on. Monday Night Football, I believe, starts in about 45 minutes, so there's plenty of time to give us a call in here. Also, the Ustream chat room is open if you want to put together a group in there and talk about boxing here in North Carolina. A week ago, on Friday the 13th, I did stop in where they had the charity boxing event in Charlotte, where our local first responders competed in the ring against each other. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay because of another job I had to do, but on the following day, Coach Al told me that the event was a huge success. The place was packed and everybody had a great time there. The firefighters placed first in the competition, followed by CMPD, Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, then the Sheriff's Office, and lastly, North Carolina Highway Patrol. While I was there, I did see the news network, News 14, covering the event, and got to see that on the news the following morning. Here's a playback of that news report.
Firefighters hit the ropes on Friday night for charity. Teams from Charlotte Mecklenburg Police, Charlotte Fire, Mecklenburg Sheriff's Office, and Highway Patrol faced off. The winners were able to help out their local charities.
It was just by thought of thinking, how can we honor our men and women, and have the community involved with it also as well.
The Charlotte Fire Department says they placed first, earning $500, followed by CMPD, the Sheriff's Office, and the Highway Patrol.
This is a News 14 Carolina.
On that following day, on Saturday, September 14th, Coach Al hosted the Carolina Amateur Boxing Invitational Tournament, and I was there for all that. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I very much love the sport of boxing. I enjoy the sport of boxing, and I sometimes think I have a lot more fun going to an amateur boxing tournament than a professional boxing event. And the Invitational was no different. Really, if you ever hear about an amateur boxing event taking place in your town, go and you will see what I'm talking about. I highly recommend it. These kids are usually between about 16 and their early 20s, and they are giving it their all in those 3 rounds in the ring. 13 bouts of amateur boxing took place at the Invitational. All of the athletes were from various cities around this state of North Carolina, and all of the bouts ended in decision. Some of the winners included Joseph Lenzo, Corey Montgomery, and Thomas Landon from the Charlotte Boxing Academy. Miles Smith, Vardis Vardanian from Dime Boxing and Fitness in Charlotte. Also, Jamel Brown and Michaela Ard from the Dungeon Boxing Club in Rockingham. Michaela Ard, by the way, was in the only women's bout that afternoon. She defeated Kimberly Pittman of Wilson, North Carolina. It would have been nice to see more female boxing. Watching 2 tough young ladies, well skilled in the sport of boxing and going at each other in the ring, is great fun to watch.
This is the Boxing Talk Show on GAR 1680.
The 2009 National Golden Gloves 165 pounds finalist, Lamar, the Boxing Q Russ of Fayetteville, remains undefeated with a record now of 14-0 after defeating Latif Mundy of Philadelphia, who, despite his 10-7 record going into the fight, Mundy was considered a very tough and dangerous middleweight. That bout took place last Monday, September 16th, at the Resorts World Casino in Queens, New York. One article about the bout talks about Monday's ridiculous taunting in trying to get under Russ's skin. One line from the article reads, "After 8 rounds of boxing through Monday's disgusting showboat clowning, Russ won a unanimous 8-round decision. Monday, who knows how to fight but did not, wound up looking like a fool as his strange game plan stunk out the house." That was from a report I read about the bout. Anyway, congrats to Lamar Russ, one of this state's best fighters, with the best undefeated record in this state for an undefeated fighter, matched only by one other, Jared the Quiet Storm Robinson of Charlotte, who is also 14-0. I received some news about another undefeated fighter from North Carolina, this boxer in the heavyweight division, Joshua Too-Tuff Tufte, who I reported a few weeks ago, has traveled to the country of Austria to spar with the world heavyweight champion Wladimir Klitschko at his camp in Austria, helping Klitschko train for his upcoming fight against Alexander Povetkin. The email I got says, "The Klitschko's camp let some people go, but Josh got to stay. He's really happy and having a great time and loving the workouts and the sparring." BoxRec News on YouTube recently posted a video about how Vladimir's training is going, and Josh Tufte was interviewed during the show.
Because you walk in and like the first time you spar, you're like, holy cow, I'm standing in front of the champ, you know, not only the champ, but the champ. And then he hits you and you're like, oh, I better get my head in the game, you know. So it works out really well. He tells you when he comes in, they want people to challenge him. You know, they're not one of the camps that don't want their sparring partners to try to get the advantage. So he feels it makes him the sharpest that he can be to have other people trying to take him and get inside and land the good shots. And he doesn't want us to be afraid to do that. So we've all have tried, and many of us has failed, but we do our best. It's harder than it looks, though. Well, and I guess I made it look pretty hard too. So, but yeah, he's got a great punch, very, very fast, great reflexes. So, he really makes you work to try to get inside. Don't get me wrong, I think Povetkin's a great fighter. I think he's got a lot of heart. But Klitschko's one of my all-time favorites. I think he's cemented his legacy as one of the best ever in the heavyweight division. So Povetkin's going to have a very hard time. He's going to have to come up with a lot of stuff to get inside that hand alone. And then he's still got to deal with the right cross and the uppercut and the hooks and everything. So he's got a tough road ahead of him.
And that was Joshua Tufte in Austria at the Camp Klitschko facility where they are training, where Wladimir Klitschko is getting himself ready. And Joshua, who got to stay after others left. That's a pretty good sign about our heavyweight fighter here from North Carolina. I'd like to thank BoxRec News on YouTube for posting that. We had a very busy weekend of boxing. This past Saturday, Ring of Dreams held an event at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, and in Greensboro, Walter Johnson Promotions held theirs. 9 bouts took place in Greensboro that included a few boxers from right here in North Carolina. I'll go ahead and just talk about the bouts that featured fighters from our state. If you want to know results from bouts that had other fighters from other states competing against each other, you can find the complete listing of that on our blog site at gar1680.blogspot.com. The former MMA champion making his professional boxing debut, Bobby Duvall of High Point, North Carolina, defeated Donta Chestnut of Wilson, North Carolina. Yes, this bout had 2 from our state matched against each other. Anyway, I think it was a first-round KO. Chestnut, who is winless, drops to 0-4. Let me tell you, I saw some pictures of Bobby Duvall, and that is one big, tough, scary-looking guy. Hopefully that'll work as a great intimidating factor and keep on getting his wins that way. There was another boxer making his professional debut. His name is Joe Jones. Now, he is either from Virginia or Maryland, but it appears he had a team from Winston-Salem in his corner, and I hear he is now being trained by Danny Akers, who I think does most of his work here in North Carolina. There is a possibility that Joe Jones is making a transition to this state, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he won in his debut, defeating Vashon Allen of Wilson, North Carolina. Allen was TKO'd in the first round. Stephen McDonald of Washington, D.C. won in his pro debut against Tevin Parker of Wilson, North Carolina. These guys from Wilson never win a fight. Tevin Parker remains winless and drops to 0-5. There was also a boxing event at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem Saturday night. I don't have all the results for that yet. Heavyweight Earl Chocolate Drop Ladson, who would be fighting in his hometown of Winston-Salem, was originally scheduled in the main event to take on the undefeated Cuban, now residing in Miami, Luis Ortiz, who is 19-0. But that didn't happen. Instead, Chocolate Drop Ladson fought Curtis Harper of Florida, who is now 8-3 after defeating Chocolate Drop. What I don't know is how Harper won, whether by KO or decision. Sometimes I'm only getting half the news on these things. There are some big fights upcoming for some top North Carolina boxers. Next week on Monday, September 30, our very own Noel Shut Up Echevarria is scheduled on the undercard of a Fox Sports 1 network Monday Night Fights series boxing event. Yes, Fox Sports has started a series called Monday Night Fights, but it's not every Monday. I think they're planning to do it every second week or every other Monday. Now, I hear that Fox Sports was thinking about canceling their Monday Night Fight series because they suddenly realized that they would be competing with Monday Night Football. So apparently even the big networks made the same mistake as me. Totally forgot about the NFL season coming up and kind of getting in the way of our Monday night shows. Next Monday, Noel Echevarria will be taking on a guy from the Bronx in New York City who is also undefeated. His name is Emmanuel Gonzalez, and he is 12-0 with 7 wins by way of KO. The bout is scheduled for 6 rounds. Gonzalez has only fought once this year. Noel has stayed a lot busier, having fought 5 times this year so far. Almost all of Gonzalez's fights have taken place in New York. He's been fighting professionally since 2008. 12 fights in the past 5 years. Noel, who is 11-0, almost an equal record, started in 2011. So 11 fights in 2 years. Now, both guys have fought opponents with poor records so far, but if there is one thing that gives Noel a big edge is how busy he has been. Much busier than the other guy, that's for sure. Noel Echevarria versus Emmanuel Gonzalez will take place at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Fox Sports 1 begins broadcasting at 9 p.m., the same time NFL Monday Night Football starts. Both happening about an hour after this show begins, if I do one next week. Anyway, I see in the listings that The Fox Sports Network boxing event is scheduled for 2 hours that Monday night from 9 to 11 p.m. The main event of that show is scheduled for 10 rounds. It is not known for sure if we will see Noel's undercard fight televised. It looks like there are 3 bouts that will be televised. The 10-round main event, an 8-rounder, and a 6-rounder, not Noel's. And it appears that Noel's fight will be televised only if any of those bouts end early. The good thing I'm hearing about the Fox Sports 1 Fight Night series is that commentators don't do a lot of talking before and after fights. There isn't this major introduction into the show that goes on for 40 minutes. In other words, when the telecast begins at 9 o'clock, the bell rings and they jump right into the first fight of the evening. That would be a nice change for a change. One of this state's premier female prize fighters will be fighting next month. Carlette Ewell of Winston-Salem will be headed to Chicago, Illinois, where she will take on Martha Salazar of San Francisco, California. The bout will take place on October 30 at the House of Cards venue in Chicago. Carlette is 15-7 with 1 draw. Salazar is 12-4. Both ladies have fought once this year. Carlette Ewell's last bout ended in a split decision 6-round draw against an undefeated boxer from New York. Salazar's last bout was a win against a fighter who was also undefeated at the time. So this bout between Carlette Ewell and Martha Salazar should be a good one. I want to thank our newest blog member. We have as a member of our North Carolina Boxing Talk blog, Tracy. Tracy joining the blog as a member this past week. Remember, anyone joining as a member of the North Carolina Boxing Talk blog during the week will be mentioned and thanked here on the next radio show. You can find our blog at gar1680.blogspot.com. gar1680.blogspot.com. And it is totally free to join. Anyone wanting to write an email can send it to gar1680@gmail.com. If you have an interesting story to tell regarding the boxing scene here in North Carolina, or anything that has to do with boxing, I will read those aloud here on the radio show. Okay, I'll go ahead and end the show here. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to comment your thoughts on our blog site, GAR1680 North Carolina Boxing Talk blog, which can be found at gar1680.blogspot.com. This is Paco Rivera. See you next time.